Hello, I am Daphne Cote, professional artist and art instructor. And today I had put out a post on my Instagram, so Daphne Cote Artist, about which portrait I should draw this morning during this tutorial as we wrap up our week of portrait drawing. So on Monday, I had started off with how to draw the eye, and then Tuesday we did the nose and mouth, and then Wednesday we did the ear and hair of Johnny Cash, and that was quite fun. And now it's a short week, so we're ending it on Thursday with a portrait. So I had it either Betty Davis or Grace Kelly, and as of 10 o'clock this morning, Betty Davis won. So I know the poll will probably be up all day, but that's what the cutoff was 10 o'clock. So today we are going to be doing a drawing of Betty Davis, and it should be quite interesting and fun. So I'm glad that you're here, that you're joining me. I hope that you've watched some of my other YouTube tutorials and time-lapse videos and things that I'm posting there. If you'd like to follow me on Instagram or Facebook, just look up Daphne Cote Artist and you'll find me there. I have a bunch of workshops and different things coming up, so you can message me just about anywhere and ask me questions. I can send you a link to register to any of those courses, and if you have some course ideas, or if you'd like for me to teach remotely to a group, I'm more than happy and able to do that kind of thing. I'm really enjoying teaching online. It was a little bit of a learning curve, but now we've got it all sorted out, and it's a fantastic and amazing tool. So please join me in doing that. Let's see here. I just want to get started. I'm itching to do this portrait. So I'm really happy that there's so many different artists out there that are showing and sharing their work and their process. And I'm really fortunate to be one of those that's joining them, so that when we get out of this whole pandemic, because this is being recorded April 9th, 2020, that we will have some really wonderful skills. Okay, so I'm just moving my tea and everything else. I am using a 2B pencil that's sharpened in this kind of specific way. I use a utility knife to sharpen it. I did post a video on how to sharpen your pencil and talk about drawing materials, so you may want to go and check that out. And then I also have a white eraser that I cut a wedge off of with a utility knife. And I can speak properly. Come on, Daphne. And so anyways, this way, the way that you hold the eraser and use it, it keeps a forever sharp point, which is really, really handy. Whereas if you're using the big eraser and you don't cut it down, you just wear down the ends of it really fast, and then it almost becomes useless. Then I also have a knead eraser, which you use and then you knead back into itself to clean it, and it's good for just softly erasing, just picking up little bits, especially when you're getting into areas where you want shading and soft edges. And then we have our blending stump here, which is just made up of coiled paper. Again, you want to use it on its side and not on its points. So that's a reoccurring theme in my drawing tutorials. And then I also have a fancy-dancy electric eraser as well that really pulls out those highlights at the end. So let's get started on drawing this wonderful, crazy-eyed human being. I'm really fascinated with doing portraits. I just really, really love studying people. And the way that I start off a drawing is by creating some straight lines and angles to create a container for the hair, which also creates a container for the face. And so I'm looking at the reference image. So you have the reference image there. I'm using a iPad. And what I do is I look at the angles at which the hair is coming out. So this one here goes like straight up and down parallel to the edge of the page, which is good. And so you just develop all of these different angles and ways of looking at things. So yeah, so that's where I start and I try to go bigger than I probably need to, because it's easier to bring it down and make it smaller than it is to try to enlarge it. I'm coming up with my own freaking words this morning, making them up as I go. Okay, so you can, once you start to go bigger, it kind of can like push itself off the page, and you can't, it's harder to edit the composition. So it's better to make it bigger, and then you can go smaller later on. So I'm trying to just figure out some angles, and then I start to piece it together. It's easier if you have straight angles and get them accurate and then turn it into a curve than trying to get an accurate curve right off the start. And I'm looking at the space and distance in between things in order to get the accuracy of proportions. So how big are these shapes in these spaces? So then she's got this like weird dark piece of curly hair happening right here, and what size is that? And in comparison to this highlight that's happening on the side of her face right here. And then that brings us down to the shape of the tonal value shape right here on the forehead. She's got another like weird little curly thing bit there. And then we can see the scale and size of the forehead. And then we can start with the top of the eye brows, which form the eye sockets. So I start with this side when I have a bit of a profile view, or 3/4. You want to start with the smallest, the thinnest side of the face with the smallest shape for the eye socket. So then we can build up this way. I can always bring it in this way. I just find it easier to do it in that way. I don't know if that's making any sense, but it's easier if I do it that way than coming in this way, in order to get the scale and size accurately, with a little bit more accuracy. Okay, and then trying to get these shapes of tonal value. So we use those shadows in order to find the space between things. So drawing the side of this cheek is actually going to end up drawing the nose for you. So if you're watching and you have any questions, please feel free to post them in the live chat, or if you're watching the replay, you can post them on the in the comment section, and I'll get back to you. Okay, so then we can draw in this light part of the nose with the eraser. And basically, putting this all together, working from photos, it's just like putting together pieces of a puzzle. So I'm just going to go in a little bit darker so that I can show you what areas I've got going on in here. She had very super thin painted in eyebrows. It's probably something similar that was popular in the 90s. I have like huge caterpillar eyebrows, so it would not have been in style then. Good thing they're coming back though. Seeing big black eyebrows as being beautiful again. So I often fill in eye sockets with tonal value to get the sense of scale. I can always go back in and pick out the highlights and things like that with an eraser, especially if I don't shade it in too dark. Look at this. There's like hardly any space between her eyes and her eyebrows. Like her eyes are so big and huge. Like, isn't that so fascinating and interesting? Like, this is what made her look so much different than anybody else, is these odd little bits about people. So I want to make sure that I get in this nose properly before I get into the mouth, because if the nose isn't the right length, then it's going to affect the placement of the mouth. So let's just move that to a smaller image so you can see my drawing a little bit better. And you can go to my Instagram or Facebook stories and see the reference image as well if you need to get a hold of it. Figuring out the ellipse that's happening in here. I don't want to put too much energy or attention into the eyes quite yet. I just want to see if I can get them going in the same direction, and because if they're wrong, then I'm going to be able to move them and feel okay about it. So I don't like to commit to anything right off the start like that. So really paying attention to the angles of things at the start is really, really important, and then getting down those tonal value shapes.
with the nose here, just figuring out the angle and the shape and how it's probably more like that. Comes in this way. Okay, so just there we go. There we go. Put that like that like that. So starting to just form some areas here. So it's these parts here, the parts of the cheek and everything like that, and the spacing in there that really makes people look distinctly like their character, I guess. Really gives the portrait its essence. So that's why it's like the main focus of my work is trying to get those areas as accurate as possible. And drawing around things is more important, like drawing around the features is more important than drawing the features themselves. So there we go. And then you got to figure out, to get that nostril, I need to get in the light shape that is happening right here in between the bottom of the eyelid, the top of the cheek, and the side of the nose. There's this light area in here. And to get that to be accurate, and that's the thing, that's, you got to teach yourself how to see and how to piece everything together. And lots of people just skip over that. They just jump from the eye to the nose, to all the features, instead of really focusing on the in-between stuff. And then seeing the distance between that eyebrow and the side of her hair, we'll pull that in a little bit. Gain a little bit more accuracy just by comparing and contrasting. I get some directional twist things going on there in her hair. And then to draw the mouth, you have to draw the upper lid, and you have to draw everything around the mouth in order to find the shape of the mouth. Find the general tonal values of the mouth and the general shape. So just putting it in really, really loosely, and then you'll be able to get the angles of it all. and find this. There's like quite a bit of dark underneath the bottom lip, but she is pretty, they're not as big. We're not looking at like, I don't know, Julia Robert lips or things like that. And looking at the space between, the distance between the lips here and the chin. Let's just soften this here. Giving it a little bit of tonal value. A little bit of round and to there. So something like that. I don't know about this shape right here. We can like redraw it with a bit of our eraser. And also maybe putting in some of this dark space in here will help. That dark shape. Looking at the core values right in here. So where there's really dark darks, but then within the shadow, kind of define the areas. So you can see that I don't draw with really lines. I'm drawing with tonal value shapes. So I fill in areas with tonal value, and that's how I draw. So some people say that I draw like a painter, and that's okay because I do paint a lot. So in the last tutorial, we talked about our tonal value scale and working from general to specific. I can't even get over really how high up her eyes go to her eyebrows. No wonder they were writing songs about Betty Davis's eyes. She's got Betty Davis eyes. That song has been playing in my head all morning, ever since I made that post asking which one would be better. So just looking at the subtle nuances, so I'm leaving like little spaces. I don't know if you can see that. Little spaces between the dark and the light where the light reflects off the bottom of the eyelid, because the eyelids have um, they're not like thin like a piece of paper. They've got some meat to them, right? So, and our eyes are wet, so they catch the light, and our eyelashes don't come out from under our eyelids. They come out from the edge of our eyelids. So uh, you get this like space where it catches the light, and it's really quite interesting. So in drawing people, you get to study them and see all these like different extraordinary ways that we're built and or created, or however you think that we're here. But um, just like falling in love with how extraordinary we are. Like this eyelid, the top eyelids come over top of the bottom eyelid. Sure, she's got like makeup to emphasize all of this stuff that's happening in here. You know what? I think it's over even a bit more. So don't practice mistakes. Like if you see something and you know it's not right, then go in and fix it and adjust it, because then you're actually learning something. Whereas if you're just, as soon as you hear the words, oh, that's good enough, that means that it's not good enough. So change it, make it right. And eyelashes, we don't really tend to draw them individually, even on this scale. You'd have to go a little bit larger, like we did on Monday in the previous tutorial, um, in one of the previous tutorials. And it's just usually a dark line that goes across the top, and then you can add little like flicks, like just a little bit of definition to a few of them. And then that helps to give a little bit of the dramatic effect that makeup has. I've been quite enjoying the fact that people aren't really wearing all that much makeup, and they don't have their makeup artists with them for their doing their talk shows and stuff like that. I think it's given myself and my friend Emma, we have started up a show on Friday nights at 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. You can catch us on YouTube, the Emma and Daphne Show, and we talk about a bunch of different stuff. This our first episode was last Friday, and it was just getting to know us a little bit more and getting to um, just finding our way, muddling through how all of it works. And we had lots of fun. So you can check out that episode if you like, and then you can tune in live this Friday night. And we do these little like sketch projects, and we're doing one this week. We're working with acrylic paint all this month, and this week we're doing unconventional painting tools. So that's just a little bit of an inside thing. I don't even think I was supposed to say that actually. I think we're supposed to keep that a secret. So don't tell anybody. So I just say it on a live stream on YouTube, right? But yeah, it's going to be really fun. So we talk about all different kinds of things, and we create art at the same time. Okay, trying to just figure out a little bit more about these cheeks and the way that things are going about here. And it's often all these subtle nuances that make all the difference. And then we've got this area here. Look at how the distance right here. Where's that ear gonna be? Right about there is where it's gonna start. And you can like look at it, like where does it line up on the face? So just about there. So right there, yeah. So maybe a little bit higher than I had it. And then looking at that tonal value shape to figure out the side of the neck and where the hair comes out here. All right, and then to draw this hair, you're almost better off, because it's so light, to draw the background. So when I hold my pencil like this, I'm not touching the drawing whatsoever. I can just go over top and not touch anything really. I'm kind of going in the opposite. So her eyes are going in this direction, and I'm going to block them off by doing lines in this direction, which is opposite. So her eye lines are going, her sight of vision is going this way. So I'm going to do the lines this way, back and forth this way, so that they kind of counteract each other, which will drive the viewer's eye down and around, back to like the darkest parts in the face. So it's a bit of a compositional trick in doing portraits, is the direction of the um, of the lines or brush strokes or whatever have you in whatever medium you're using, um, that can help determine and decide where the viewer's eye will go. Sorry, I'm getting like lost in all these like cool little details of the hair. So I find hair really fun to do. It's where you bring a lot of energy and expression into the drawing. So where does the end of her hair? It is like the top of the lip. So right about here. That's where it goes up and in, and then out and around and in and out, like that. Just redraw this. Again, going with angles first and then adding the curve in there. So I have been asked to give a workshop on an online workshop on drawing portraits. So if you're interested in that, make sure that you send me a message, and I can send you information. So that would be at the end of April. All right, just getting lost in it. Getting more into the hair here. And the hair is just like huge pieces of tonal value, really. I feel like this needs to be blended a little bit, and it might need to be lightened on the forehead, this little piece here. So we can lighten it up with the blending or the knead eraser. And often when we're drawing people who are younger, especially children, we want to use a blending stump or some sort of tool. You can even use Q-tips just to blend in your areas and make them feel smooth so they don't look wrinkly, because sometimes our tools and the way that they run along the paper can make things feel a little too textured or wrinkly. So also, when you're using a blending stump, then you can slow down a little bit and really pay attention and focus to a few more of the details that you may not have seen or noticed before. Like there's a softer transition right here. Yet I can push this even darker with the blending stump. And I notice that this part right here, this line in here, is actually really quite dark. Lightens up right there. There we go. That gives a really interesting dramatic effect. I'm going to take away a little bit of what's happening in here. Still too much of a harsh line. There we go. So just like really subtle things, like just getting this line and angle right makes a huge difference. And that's going to come in through here. And then this blending right across here. She's got a bit of a divot in her chin. A bit of a cleft that's not too pronounced, but you can tell because the bottom of her chin. Okay, so and then I'm gonna just lighten up this area here, just so that we do have this area as being the darkest. And then we do want that shoulder to curve, not be so bright white. And so what you have is light hitting from behind, a backlit, and then you have shadow. And then you have reflected light onto this part of her shoulder right here. But what I really like to look at is, and really helps make the form feel round, is when you have the core shadow, the core value in the shadow, which kind of acts as like, it's this shape that almost forms like a line through here. And it helps to make everything feel curved or round. It really describes the shape and the plane that it sits on. You can hear my kids upstairs. How's everybody doing working from home? Homeschooling and all of that? All right. So there it's going along. this dark area here and really like figuring out all the little nuances and really getting into the specifics. I had put it in generally before, but then you have to go in and really get the little subtle dips and things that are happening in that area. And then we need to erase in here. And then just bring this up here. You know what? I was right. Okay, so I'm going to go and pull this in to about here. And then what that's going to do is that's going to pull the ear into about here instead. And then that's going to bring in the neck to about here. And then that's about the right width. Now that I'm looking at that, that's about the right width. So there, that looks better. Don't practice mistakes, Daphne. All right, so if you know something's a little bit off, then put it in the right way. So I work back and forth using my eraser as a drawing tool. Let's see here, I'm not sure I want it as dark as I've got it there. So I'll pull that out. Go back in with my blending stump, blend a little bit to bring some of it back in. The light that's catching the side of the eye socket, under the eye there, and on the cheek there. So just looking at the tonal value here. At the bottom of her neck. Getting these curls in the back here, going with the general shape to more specific. Looking at the width and the direction the line should be going at, which are going to follow the same direction as her eye, her line of sight. So something like that. And again, just breaking down the areas of the hair into tonal value chunks. There we go. All right, and then we get into little bits over here, drawing an edge. No. I've been using a lot of Procreate lately, so I just want to like double tap with my fingers in order to like undo, which doesn't really get me anywhere in a graphite drawing. So I would definitely take a break right about now and step away from the drawing, go get myself some tea or look at other things, and then come back to it with some fresh eyes so that I could actually see more about the things that are sticking out that might not be working, that might not fit, areas that might need a little bit more work and detail, so that it all starts to make a little bit more sense. And then gains the overall effect or feeling that I'm trying to work towards, depending on what it is. What kind of look do we want to have her give off, or vibe, or feeling? creating some sort of mood. All right, so I do see that there's like a little bit of glare and stuff happening. I don't know if I can change the lighting, if that would help. A little bit. Yeah, there we go. So here's where it sits as a drawing for today. I just want to like finish getting some of this like crazy highlighted jazz here. And then having it all going again like this direction, all the lines going in that direction. And I try not to create that like halo effect by either drawing a really dark line all the way around or being too scared to go over the edge so I don't get close enough and then you get a weird white edge. So try to get rid of all that, not fall for it. And if I go over, then that's okay because I can just take my eraser and go back and grab some of that edge, put it back in. Create a little bit more definition in some areas. Using the reference photo as a guide. Using the eraser as a drawing tool. So, I think there we go. And then April 2020. There we are. There we have it for today. Let's see here. Thanks for joining me. I had a really great time today drawing with you. There is Ms. Betty Davis. I think she turned out pretty good. Again, I'm going to post a better picture of it on of this final piece on my social media, so follow me on there. Instagram and Facebook and YouTube are all
Daphne Cote Artist. Um, and yeah, if you have any comments or if you have any questions, please let me know. Also, message me if you'd like to take a workshop with me, or if you'd like to organize a workshop with a group or anything like that. I'd be happy to collaborate with you on that. So, have a great day, everybody. I hope you learned a few things, and I hope it encouraged you to pick up a pencil and get drawing. Have a great day.